who is taking Monday off knows it's Martin Luther King Day weekend. But on the Jewish calendar, there are two other very important things this Shabbat. One is that it's Shabbat Shirah, the Shabbat of song, when we read the Song of the Sea about how the Israelites crossed the Sea of Reeds. And we'll get a chance to mark that and to celebrate it a little bit later. And of course, this weekend leads us into the holiday of Tu B'Shvat, the Jewish New Year for the trees. And we're very lucky to be joined tonight by the founder of Speak for the Trees, David Meshulam, who we are partnering with at TOS to plant 18 trees in East Boston. And we're going to have a chance to hear about that project and about the great work that Speak for the Trees is doing later. But I just want to say a word about Tu B'Shvat, which has ancient roots as a tax holiday. In the Mishnah 2,000 years ago, the rabbis talked about the New Year for the trees, which was a day for them to count and mark the aging of the trees for tax purposes. But the rabbis of Tzfat, the same rabbis who created the beautiful liturgy of Kabbalat Shabbat, saw a deeper significance in this holiday, and they saw the mystical connections between the trees that are around us and the tree of life, which connects us to the divine. And they created a beautiful Seder as a way for us to connect to that tree of life. So I want to share a brief opening prayer, modified slightly, that they used at the beginning of their Tu B'Shvat Haggadah, and to have that be our intention for this evening. Begins, O God, who makes, forms, creates, and emanates from the highest worlds. You made the trees and grasses grow from the ground in the shape and pattern of these highest worlds. And this full moon is the beginning of your work to renew and ripen the fruit trees, for so will be ripened the fruit of the highest tree, the tree of life in the midst of the garden. May our prayers tonight strengthen the flow of love and blessing and free gift over the trees to make them grow and bloom for good life, for blessing, and for peace. May the whole creation return again to its original strength, and may the rainbow appear rejoicing and beautiful in its colors. And may all the sparks of divinity scattered by our hands or by the hands of our ancestors be restored and included in the majestic might of the tree of life. So we're going to bring that intention of connecting with the divine and connecting with the tree of life. We're going to begin by welcoming in Shabbat and by singing Shalom Aleichem on page 24 as I get my candles ready to be able to welcome in Shabbat.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon, Mihi Melech, Malachei Amlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Moachem leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mihi Melech, Malachei Amlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mihi Melech, Malachei Amlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeichem leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei
If you've got your Shabbat candles with you tonight and you want to bring them into your Zoom screen, We can join together on page 2 to light our Shabbat candles and to officially welcome in Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kirshanu b'mitzvotav b'tzivanu lechad likner shel
Shabbat Shalom. We turn now to Psalm 96 and to the verses that remind us about the fields and the trees exulting with joy. And as those gale force winds are blowing this weekend and the leaves, what leaves remain on those pine trees and the branches of those mighty oaks start to shake, you can imagine those trees dancing with joy and celebrating Shabbat with us. We sing together, Ya'alo Sadai.
We turn to page 20 to welcome the Sabbath bride. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, b'nei b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. La 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Verse 1. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad, Hishmi'anu el ha'miyochad, Adonai echad v'shemo echad, l'shemo tiferet v'liti la 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Verse 2. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki hi mekor haberacha, mirosh mikedem nesucha, sov ma'aseh b'machshava la 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Verse 5. Yitor eri, kiva orech kumi ori, uri shir taveri. Kavod Adonai aleich nikla la 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 lechadodi likrat kala b'nei b'nei Shabbat nekabela lechadodi likrat kala b'nei b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom ateret bala Gam b'simcha ובזולך תוך אמוני המסגולה אורי חלה אורי חלה יאללה לה 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 לחדותי לקראת קלה בני שבת נקבלה לחדותי לקראת קלה בני שבת נקבלה לה 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 לחדותי לקראת קלה בני שבת נקבלה לחדותי לקראת קלה בני שבת נקבלה.
We're going to sing a different selection of Psalm 92, our Psalm for Shabbat, on page 22, than we normally sing on Friday night, but I think it's a melody that many people will be familiar with. And it evokes the image of the sap being strong in a tree that is quite old. And many people wonder why we would celebrate Tu B'Shvat, a birthday or New Year for the trees in the middle of winter. Why, when there's no leaves and no color and vibrancy, do we celebrate the trees? But the rabbis understood that this is the time of the year when the sap is beginning to stir in these trees, and that even though we won't see the manifestation of those beautiful leaves until springtime, the tree is beginning to awaken. And what you see on the outside isn't necessarily reflective of what is happening on the inside. And so during this time of cold and darkness, where we might still be feeling that desire to hibernate, we're invited, especially on Shabbat, to kind of pay attention to that sap within us and to help wake it up, to help that stirring begin so that we can be ready to bloom when springtime comes. The bottom of page 22.
Tzaddik atamar yifrach, yifrach. Tzaddik atamar yifrach. Tzaddik atamar yifrach, yifrach. Tzaddik atamar yifrach. Ke'erev balvanon yizge. Ke'erev balvanon yizge. Ke'erev balvanon yizge, yizge. Ke'erev balvanon yizge. Ke'erev balvanon yizge. Ke'erev balvanon yizge, yizge. Tzaddik atamar yifrach, yifrach. Tzaddik atamar yifrach. Tzaddik atamar yifrach, yifrach. Tzaddik atamar yifrach. Ke'erev balvanon yizge. Ke'erev balvanon yizge. Ke'erev balvanon yizge, yizge. Ke'erev balvanon yizge. Ke'erev balvanon yizge. Ke'erev balvanon yizge, yizge.
We transition from Kabbalat Shabbat into the evening service, and we turn to Baruch Hu on page 28, rising in body or spirit. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach Leolam Vaed. You're welcome to be seated. We join together with our Ma'ariv, our Ravine prayer, roll into the dark with this beautiful melody from Noam Katz.
Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Borei yom v'layla, goel hor mipnei choshech, goel hor mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Oh, yom v'layla, goel hor mipnei choshech, goel hor mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, v'choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, v'choshech mipnei or.
Baruch atah Adonai Hamariv Aravim.
Amen.
Page 32.
Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Amcha ahavta Amcha ahavta Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadta, otanu limadta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shachbeinu uvkumeinu nasiach berukecha v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha u'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu u'lahem negei yomam v'layla negei yomam v'layla ve'ahavadcha al tasir mimenu le'olami the Shema. Whenever we sing the Shema with the kids, we always talk about closing our eyes, kind of cutting off our other senses and really letting our ears take a listen, right? Shema, listen. Listen, hear, O Israel. Page 34. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Adonai Echad. Sing Shema Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Adonai Echad.
Page 36. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'otecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha v'veitecha u'vlechtecha v'aderech U'shochbecha u'vkumecha u'kshartam leot ayadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha u'chtavtam amazazot beitecha u'visharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kadoshim le'elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem Me'eretz Mitzrayim v'hiot lachem le'elohim ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem Emet. So the Shabbat is Shabbat Shirah, and so named because we read on Saturday morning Shirat Hayam, the Song of the Sea, which contains the words of Mi Chamocha, the song that our ancestors sing as they cross the sea from slavery into freedom. And especially on Martin Luther King, it's worth reflecting on the power of song, both to sustain us in our fight for justice and also to help us celebrate those victories. I think that is a truth that is contained from the very beginning of our tradition in the Torah, and something that is present in both interpretations of when this song was sung. As they crossed through with those two walls of water beside them, uncertain if they would make it across. And once they crossed to the other side, with Miriam leading in that song of rejoice and redemption. And I asked Josh to do something a little special tonight, a Mi Chamocha that really brought it, because this Shabbat of song requires a special, powerful Mi Chamocha. And this is a personal favorite that we sing as it gets close to Passover. And I like it because it helps tell the story of what is actually happening in this Torah portion, B'Shalach, that we're in the middle of. So the words are on your screen. Please join in and sing along with us.
So you have to get in the mindset, friends. We are standing at the sea. We've escaped Egypt. Right, Moses in front of us. We're standing at the sea. Let's do it. we're standing at the sea. Michamocha, we're standing at the sea. Michamocha, we're standing at the sea. Michamocha, freedom's on our way. Friends, put your hands in the air. We're gonna go like this. Freedom, freedom, down low. Freedom, freedom, all around you. Freedom, freedom, freedom's on our way. Just like that, up, down, all around. Freedom, freedom, down. Freedom, freedom, all around. Freedom, freedom, freedom's on our way. We're singing and dancing. We're singing and dancing. Michamocha, we're singing and dancing. Michamocha, we're singing and dancing. Michamocha, freedom's on our way. Sing freedom, freedom, freedom. You got it. Freedom, 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 freedom's on our way. Friends, we gotta quicken our pace up. Pharaoh's coming up behind us. They're coming up behind. Michamocha, they're coming up behind. Oy, Michamocha, they're coming up behind. Michamocha, freedom's on our way. And we will not be slaves in Egypt no more. So we say, bound no more. Michamocha, bound no more. Michamocha, bound no more. Michamocha, freedom's on our way. Put those hands in the air. Freedom, 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 freedom's on our way. Freedom, 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 you got it. Freedom, 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 freedom's on our way. So Moses takes his staff and puts it in the water, or Nachshon, choose your drosh for yourself. So the sea sheep parts, right? Do that with me now. The sea sheep parts. Michamocha, the sea sheep parts. Michamocha, the sea sheep parts. Michamocha, freedom's on our way. The sea parts, we had to walk through the water, but friends, I'm sorry, it is not nicely paved like the streets of Brookline. We are probably wearing sandals. It's all muddy and yucky, so we're gonna be a little slushy. We're walking through the water. Michamocha, we're walking through the water. Michamocha, we're walking through the water. Michamocha, freedom's on our way. Get those hands ready, you all. Freedom, freedom, you know what to do. Freedom, 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 freedom's on our way. One more time. Freedom, 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 freedom's on our way. Friends, we made it. Mazel tov, Yasher Koach. We are on the other side. Oh my goodness. We're on the other side. Michamocha, we're on the other side. Michamocha, we're on the other side. Michamocha, freedom's on our way. Take a pointer finger and put it to your screen, and we're gonna go. One God, Michamocha. One God, Michamocha. One God, Michamocha. Freedom's on. Let me see some singing and dancing. We're singing and dancing. Michamocha. We're singing and dancing. Michamocha. We're singing and dancing. Michamocha. Freedom's on our way. You know what to do now. Freedom, 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 freedom's on our way. One more time. Freedom, 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 freedom's on our way. You all looked and rocked so fabulously.
Thank you, Josh, and amazing job to everybody. I saw those hands moving. That might be the most exercise that some of us have had today. So let's take a breath. We're going to ease back into the service with our lullaby melody, Hashkivenu, which is on page 42. And Josh, we should point out your background tonight is because of Shabbat Shirah.
Yeah.
Josh is one of those with all those fish under the sea.
I am.
That
I'm
we're
hanging
waiting
out down here.
Yeah, we're waiting for those walls to come back together so they could swim to the other side.
You're welcome, friends. Nemo, Dory. There you go. All right, friends. Let's sing this beautiful Hashkivenu melody that has become one of my favorites by the one and only Dan Nichols. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom Hamidenu Shomrinu L'chaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom Hamidenu Shomrinu Verse 1. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom Hamidenu Verse 2. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'ha'amidenu Shomrinu L'chaim. One more time.
Turn to the Amidah, which can be found on page 46. And as we prepare to recite the first three blessings of the Amidah together, and then take a few moments for our own private prayers, we're going to turn at the end to page 62 and come back together for a special prayer, Yehiyu L'Ratzon, asking that the words of our mouth may speak good in the days to come. We rise for the Amidah, body or spirit.
Svatai Tivtach Ananananana Ufi Agid Ufi Agid Tilatecha Ananananana Svatai Tivtach Ananananana Ufi Agid Teilatecha Ananananana Adonai Ananananana Svatai Tivtach Ananananana Ufi Agid Tehi
Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'Konei Hakol, Ve'Zocher Chastei Avot v'Imaot, U'Mevi Geulah Livnei Bneihem, L'Man Shemo B'Ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch Ata Adonai, Magen Abraham Ve'Ezrat Sarah, Ata Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol Ata Rav Le'Oshia, Mashiv HaRuach Morid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chaim V'Chesed, Mechaye HaKol Be'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Ve'Rofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Ba'al Gevurot, Umido Melach, Melech Meimit Umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman Ata L'Hachayot HaKol, Baruch Ata Adonai, Mechaye HaKol. Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yahaleluch Hasela, Baruch Ata Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
Page 62. Yulim Ratson, Imrefi, Ve'yom libi lefanecha, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri ve'gohali, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri ve'gohali, Yuleratzon imrefi, ve'yom libi lefanecha, Yuleratzon imrefi, ve'yom libi lefanecha, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri ve'gohali, oh Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri ve'gohali.
Take a moment this evening to offer our prayer of healing for those on our hearts and mind, those who are close by and those who are far. If you're offering a Misha Berach, a prayer of healing this evening, and you'd like to share the name of a loved one in the chat to be read out loud, please take a moment and share it with us. As a community, we pray for the healing of Honey Sachs, Chana Bat Moshe, Dina Rachel Bat Aryeh Vigalia, Cassandra Warshawski, Chaya Blima, Bat Chaim Chia, Vasilia Ruchel, Jeffrey Colt, Joseph Siegel, Yosef Ben Herschel Beirut, Glenna Bub, for Austin, Frank, and Heather. Hope you guys are doing well and healing quickly. For David Page and Claire Ruffino, for Liesel, Alan, Jerry, Susan, Marcia, Bruce, for ML and JG. For all those on our hearts, all those we're thinking about, all the names which continue to come into the chat, including Steve Fromm, we turn to page 253 and we offer our prayer for healing.
May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Shebeirach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen, and let us say,
Pray for refuah shlema, complete and speedy recovery for all. And before we say Mourner's Kaddish and have a chance to hear from our guest speaker tonight, I'd like to share a few announcements. But if you're saying Kaddish for a loved one and you'd like to share their name in the chat to be read out loud, you can take a moment to type. Tomorrow morning, we have Shabbat services on Zoom at 10:30 with Shir Hadash, and we're going to be joined by Rabbi Berkman and our rabbinic intern, Naomi Gertland. On Monday, TOS offices are closed in observance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And next Wednesday is the last session of the Pirkei Avot class with rabbinic intern Naomi Gertland at 7:30 p.m. And Rabbi Berkman's class meets on Thursday at 9 a.m. And then on next Thursday night, 7 o'clock, is the first session of our 5-week class, the anti-racism training that will be led by Kavod and is jointly run with TOS and Shir Hadash. There are still a couple slots left if you're interested, but you can't join after the first session. So if you think you're interested, please join us and sign up. And next week, we will still be virtual at 6 p.m. And if you haven't seen, a special congratulations to our two amazing educators, Amelia Remy, the Associate Director of the Trust Center, and Amy Deutsch, the religious director, or the director of our religious school, the Anson Religious School, who were both honored by the Synagogue Council this week for their amazing work. As we turn to Mourner's Kaddish on page 294, we remember Ed Greenberg, Stephanie Reamer, David Seal, Bob Saget, Herb Zeiger, Susan's beloved dad, Peter Feldman, Herb Zeiger, Elaine Talon, Harold Nurk, Luz Maria Salamanca, Harold Burke, and Michael Lyons. We turn to page 294 and we rise if it's our custom for Mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal, Yitkadash, Shnei Rabbah, Yama, Dibra, Hirute, Biamlich Malchute, V'chayechon, Uvyomechon, Uchaye, Techol Beit Yisrael, Bagala, Uvizman Kariv, V'imru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabba Mevarach, Ve'olam Ulamei Amaya, Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yitba'ar, V'yitromam, V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, V'yitaleh, V'yitalal, Shmei Dekudsha Barechu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiran b'yama v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Say shalom bimroma huya ase shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen.
Zichronam livracha, may their memories be a blessing. And a special thank you to Josh for being with us and leading so beautifully this evening. And thank you all for joining us. I'm very excited to introduce tonight's guest speaker, David Meshulam, the founder of Speak for the Trees, who we have an opportunity to partner with as part of our 180th celebration to plant 18 trees in East Boston, where the Ohabei Shalom Cemetery is, the first piece of our history, the first piece of land that was given to us and the founders of this temple. And David is a second generation Israeli American, a graduation of Brookline High, and he returned here to teach physics in 2001 after earning an MA in the history of science and a PhD in science education from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. In 2018, he left teaching and he founded Speak for the Trees Boston, an urban and community forest nonprofit focused on bringing tree equity to Boston, an organization that he now leads. Trained as a science educator, his work focuses on ways to increase understanding of the connections between science, culture, and history, and to empower people to be change agents. David is a senior fellow at the Environmental Leadership Program and a fellow at the Green Communities Leadership Program, and co-chairs the Urban Ecology Collaborative. And when he's not tending to his trees, his two children, or his one mini Australian shepherd, you can reach him on the website or by his email. And David, we're so thrilled to have you tonight. Thank you for joining us to celebrate Tu B'Shvat.
Thank you. Thank you, Rabbi. And thank you everyone for hosting. It's sort of like a little bit of, although I've never been part of your congregation, it's a little bit like a coming home party to be in Brookline. So I wanted to thank first Jess, who I see over here on my screen. Jess Lillian and I went not only to high school together, but to college together. And she's the one who made the connection. So thank you, Jess, for inviting me. Thank you for hosting. And then I saw Larry a little while ago. There he is. He's been my contact person for this planting project in East Boston that I'm really thrilled about. This is sort of, as the rabbi mentioned, this is sort of the perfect week for the type of work we do at Speak for the Trees, because it's about tree equity, and tree equity is a celebration of trees, but it's also a recognition around the racial injustices that have persisted and continue to persist in this country. And Martin Luther King Day often falls, if not on Tu B'Shvat, then right near Tu B'Shvat. So this is one of the days that we take a chance to reflect, and it's great. This is everything we do captured in one evening and in one project with you all. I think my parents might not be on the Zoom call. They're, I think, live watching on one of the other platforms. They're immigrants from Israel. They immigrated here in the 70s, and they were Sabras, so they were first generation. They were born, their parents were immigrants from Eastern Europe, and actually from New Jersey as well. And so we've been a transient family for a couple of generations, and I think a lot about trees and the power of connection. And many of you have probably had a tree planted in your honor as part of the Jewish National Fund program to reforest Israel. I know when I was born, that was a really important part. Is my great aunt donated a tree in my name, and trees have power to connect us over space and time. And when we speak of trees, they're at the root of our humanity in many ways, right? The tree is, we have the tree of life and the tree of knowledge in the Judeo-Christian tradition. We also have the Buddha who sat under a tree and was enlightened. And we have many other traditions that recognize the power of the tree. And I actually happen to live in Watertown, and Watertown has the largest Armenian community or diaspora community in the country, or used to. I think maybe LA might be bigger at this point. But Watertown has the Armenia Tree Project, which got its inspiration from the Jewish National Fund, and they do similar work in Armenia. So this work around trees and connection, I think, is pretty powerful and ubiquitous. And I also wanted to, before I dive into what we do and the partnership here, I wanted to remark on, I think a lot about my last name, Meshulam, which has the root shalom in it, just like your congregation has the name shalom in it. And shalom, as we know, means peace, but it comes from the 4-letter root. Pretty much every word in Hebrew, 3-letter root, has the 3-letter root, shin lamed mem, shalom. And that means it doesn't mean peace. It means to make complete or to make whole. And I think of our work a lot in that way of producing a sense of wholeness in our world and repairing some of the inequities and the disruptions we've had. So Meshulam means to make whole. It's sort of the gerund. Shalom is peace or wholeness. And Meshulam also means all paid for. So when you complete a transaction, and someone says, if you paid for it, you say, yes, that's Meshulam, that's all paid for. So I like to reflect on our work as trying to make this world whole again. And with that, I have a presentation to share with you. And I'm gonna see if I can run through the whole thing. And if I can't, then so be it. So I'm gonna start at the beginning if I can. Can everyone see my screen okay? I can't see you, so if someone could just say yes or no.
We can see it, David. W.
Great, thank you. All right, so I'm going to run through this and leave some time for questions at the end. Oh, and also before I begin, I saw Karen's on your congregation, and if you guys don't know Karen and the work she does in environmental justice issues in Boston, it's been very helpful in my thinking and connecting me to people. Before I dive in, I wanted to acknowledge and thank Karen for her support over the years. So at Speak for the Trees, just quickly, we're a community-focused nonprofit, and we're committed to building healthy urban tree canopy through education, planting, stewardship, outreach, and the arts. And I'm going to talk a little bit about our mission, the issues we face, our projects, and our goals. And I'll speak quickly so we can get to questions. So our mission is to increase the size, health, and equity of Boston's urban forest. And you all who commute or live in Brookline, I think when you cross into Brookline or cross out of Brookline, you can actually experience the inequity of how the urban forest plays out. You look around you and you see between Allston and Brookline the disparity in tree canopy coverage. At our root values, we have 4 of them. As the world becomes increasingly urban, we need to think of ways to increase resiliency during an era of climate change. Climate change is here. We believe that everyone, no matter their zip code, deserves a clean and healthy environment. That strong communities are the backbone for safe spaces, social cohesion, and livable neighborhoods. So we have very strong civic focus as well. And that we also want to empower people to solving both local and global environmental challenges. So the tree is an invitation into lots of conversations around these 4 values. The issues that Boston faces, and you can see actually Brookline right here, sort of sticking into Boston, right? That's Brookline, that's a political boundary that that sticks into Boston. The issues we face is research has shown more and more, and this is just a sort of overview of some of the benefits, and I'm probably preaching to the choir a little bit here, but that urban trees are really important. They filter our air, they cool our streets, they manage our stormwater, they reduce stress, right? They reduce obesity levels. All these things are really, really critical. They even do things like reduce our energy load by cooling our homes, by actually blocking wind in the winter. So they're economic, social, and environmentally critical. The problem we face is that not all communities have equal access to trees. And we work closely with this amazing organization out of DC called American Forests. They're the oldest national environmental nonprofit in the country. And they've developed this term called tree equity, where they define it as not some communities having more trees than others. And we believe that everyone deserves the experience of a healthy climate through its trees. We've developed a map where you can explore tree equity in Boston. It's on our website. And I'm just going to show you quickly here. This is how we think about tree equity on our map. It's the interrelationship between people, so demographics, things like race, things like language, things like income. It's the second lens is environment, so heat island effect and air pollution. And the final lens is through trees, so tree canopy coverage. And when you put those things together, you get maps like this. And here's an example of a map we've created, and I've highlighted East Boston because this is where we'll be doing our work, where you can sort of look at the intersection between tree canopy coverage, which is here in green, and the darker the green, the more tree canopy coverage it is. And then we have this little microscope that you can sort of move around and look at other factors, like how does tree canopy coverage intersect in this case with heat island effect or with air pollution. So I invite you to go to our website and look at that. We do lots of things to improve tree equity in the city and to raise awareness around tree inequity. I've listed 4 of them here. Rabbi, how much time do I have left? Because I have a couple of videos here.
You can take another 10 minutes if you like. Does that work?
Oh, perfect. All right. So the first program we have here is our Teen Urban Tree Corps. It's a 6-week summer program for Boston youth to learn about tree equity and careers in urban forestry. When we talk about tree equity, right, that we all understand, I think, that there are some communities that have more trees than others. That's one side of tree equity. The other side of tree equity is who has access to work in the field of urban forestry. And it's traditionally been predominantly white men who have worked in that field. So we're trying to open up these opportunities to youth throughout the city, and Boston's a very diverse city, right? To young women, to people of color, to see this see themselves as foresters. UMass Amherst has one of the best programs in the country in forestry, but not enough of our youth of color are in that program. So I have a 2-minute video here that I'll share with you about the program that was produced from this summer. Let me see if it works.
I had no idea about the redlining how poor neighborhoods didn't have enough trees due to like racism. Because I was like, I knew racism happened, but it was like, trees? Are you serious?
We're in a crisis point in our environmental efforts, and we're seeing that with hotter summers and more inequitable distribution of sort of the health benefits of trees. Speak for the Trees is an urban and community forestry nonprofit, and we focus on changing how people think about and relate to trees in Boston.
It's really important to take care of our climate and just learn how to protect the environment and all the plants and trees and nature.
Our Teen Urban Tree Corps program is a 6-week summer program where we get about 15 youth to learn about and experience how we care for our urban forests in Boston.
We've had speakers come in and just talk about their profession, what they do, and also we've been walking around the Fields Corner neighborhood. We've been looking at trees, we've been inventorying them, we've just been doing a lot of different things related to trees around the area.
I think they're at this point where they really understand the inequities of our system and feel empowered to do things and want to do things, and we're giving them voice and opportunity to do that.
This job actually forces me to go outside. When I'm walking, oh my God, this is a maple tree. This is a healthy tree. Or like, oh my God, this tree doesn't have enough space.
We're going to serve Boston for decades to come by planting more trees, by getting people to care about trees, and really increasing awareness about why trees matter.
So that was our first program in 2019, and then we had to transition it to a totally virtual program in 2020, and then we had to again transition it for 2021. It's been really fun to watch these teens grow into the work, and I'm proud to say that this year, for the first year, we're extending the program into a school year program. So we have about 7 alum from that program continuing to work with us 10 hours a week. These kids are paid for their work, right? We value their work. They're bringing trees to their communities with some planting projects that we hope to implement this spring. So that's one example of the type of community work we're doing. We also do tree giveaways. Over the past couple of years, we've given residents in under canopied neighborhoods trees for them to plant in their yards. We teach them. Here you'll see our staff and one of our teens. That's Johanna, who actually was speaking in the video. They teach people how to properly plant and care for their trees. So we had an event in Mattapan. We had 2 events in Mattapan, one in Roxbury. This past year, we're scoping out some more events. We had some in East Boston actually last October, and we've given away hundreds of these amazingly beautiful trees. And it's just beautiful to watch people gather and share stories and share an excitement. We also, of course, plant trees. And these are all collaborative community-based tree planting events where we sort of co-create shared green spaces. So I like to tell people we're not a helicopter organization. You can't be. We don't drop trees into people's yards. We work with communities because trees need care, right? They're not one of those things that you just give and leave. So there's another video here about our first planting project that was in 2019. I'm going to skip over it, but you can find it on our website. It's a great story about this microforest that we supported and the work of people like Leon David, who you see here, this woman, Judith Foster. Both Leon is first generation from Haiti, Judith is first generation from Jamaica. And then we had some other partners in there who had the vision for this beautiful space, and we worked together to implement it. And then we're also developing, just another example of our many programs, an Adopt a Tree program, where we're learning from other communities like Cambridge and Somerville, who have a program like this in place, or cities like DC, where people can sign up. And we've been working really closely with a group of undergrads at Northeastern University to create an app. And you can find that app at treeboston.org/adopt, where you can log in, create an account, and adopt a tree. And you'll be to water it. We teach you how to water it. And we're even looking for funding right now where we incentivize people so they get paid to do this work. And we hope to introduce that in the spring. So we have a couple of long-term goals, and they align with hopefully what the city's looking at, to increase the Boston's tree canopy by 10% within the next decade, to help build a larger network of tree advocates, to partner with and support municipal officials to improve and expand their work. There aren't nearly enough arborists on staff at the City of Boston. To continue to engage residents and teaching them how to plant, water, and care for trees. And finally, to update city and state ordinances. The state has a big role to play in this related to tree care. So I invite you to join us. You can join us by signing up for our newsletter, by following us on social media. Like today, you can continue to invite us to your community, help us spread the word. And of course, more to come, but please come plant with us this spring, working very actively with a couple of your members to get that project of 18 trees in East Boston going. So you'll be hearing more from us. So with that, I just want to share with you a picture of how we reimagine Boston and its interconnected tree. So thank you. I hope I didn't speak too quickly. There's my email address. And I'm gonna stop my screen sharing and open a conversation.
That's great. Thank you so much, David. And invite people to think of questions they might have. We might cut the live stream if that's okay. Sorry to your parents, David, if they can't follow along with the Q&A.
They can